So have you ever wondered what a New Year's resolution would look like for, say, the Buddha and his monks? Yeah, forget about simple goal setting. We're about to dive into an ancient Buddhist text that describes this incredibly powerful ceremony of confession, purification, and just radical humility. It's a totally different way of starting fresh. So where does this story come from? Well, our source is the Sutra on Receiving the New Year. It's this amazing text that was translated from Sanskrit into Chinese way back, centuries ago. What's so cool about it is that it captures this single remarkable event, giving us this rare, fly-on-the-wall glimpse into the inner life of the early Buddhist community. All right, so let's picture the scene. We're in a place called Śrāvastī in India. The text says it's the 15th day of the 7th month, which is a really significant time. The Buddha is sitting outside, and he's surrounded by this huge assembly of 500 monks. You can just feel that something important is about to go down. And then, out of the blue, the Buddha turns to his closest attendant, a monk named Ānanda, who, by the way, was famous for having this incredible, perfect memory. And he gives him this really strange and unexpected instruction. It's a command that you can tell immediately makes everyone wonder, okay, what's going on? He tells Ānanda to go and strike the gong. That's a kind of wooden clapper they use to call all the monks together. And then he announces, today is the day for receiving the new year. Now this phrase, receiving the new year, is totally new to Ānanda. It just hangs there in the air, full of mystery. What on earth could that mean? So Ānanda, kind of acting as our stand-in here, is just as puzzled as we are. And his question is what takes us right to the heart of what this ancient practice is all about. Ānanda, very respectfully, asks the Buddha for some clarity. His question is simple, it's direct. Wise one, what do you mean by receiving the ear? He just wants to understand the purpose behind this really unusual declaration. And the Buddha's answer is just fascinating. Instead of some dry academic definition, he answers with a poem. He explains that this whole ceremony is about purification and mutual confession. It's a process where two monks literally face each other and openly, honestly, admit their faults. So, here's the crucial part. The ceremony focuses on purifying what Buddhism calls the 3 karmas. And this isn't just about what you do, your outward behavior. No, it's a complete spiritual cleansing. It addresses our physical actions, the words we speak, and even our private thoughts. It's a truly holistic way to approach self-improvement. But Ānanda's not quite done. He gets it, but now he wants to know, is this something new or is it part of a much, much older tradition? And his next question really deepens the whole story. He asks another really sharp question. He's basically saying, is this practice something you came up with or have other Buddhas done this too? He's trying to figure out the ceremony's lineage, its place in the grand scheme of things. The Buddha's response here is just profound. He explains that this isn't just his idea, not at all. He says that countless Buddhas throughout history have performed this exact same ceremony, and that all future Buddhas will continue to do it too. So he's framing it as this timeless, absolutely essential practice for any enlightened teacher. And then the text makes this really interesting distinction. It says this ceremony is specifically for Buddhas who are teachers, who have a community around them, and it contrasts them with what are called Pratyeka Buddhas. These are beings who get enlightened all on their own, but they live in solitude and don't teach anyone. And they don't perform this ceremony. That really highlights that this whole practice is fundamentally about community, about trust, and about that shared sense of purity. Okay, so now that we've got the what and the why, the sutra shows us the ceremony as it actually unfolds. And believe me, this is where the story gets really, really powerful. So get this. In an incredible act of humility, the Buddha, the fully enlightened teacher, the wise one, is the first one to speak. He doesn't order everyone else to confess. He offers himself up for examination by his own students. He asks them directly, looking out at all 500 monks. He says, have I done anything wrong? Have my actions, my words, or even my thoughts caused any fault against you? I mean, can you imagine that? It's a moment of just complete vulnerability from the leader of the entire community. And what happens next is nothing. Just complete silence. Just try to picture that scene. 500 people, and not a single one makes a sound. The silence itself is the answer. It creates this incredible, dramatic tension. Finally, his chief disciple, Sariputra, breaks the silence, and speaking for everyone, he confirms the Buddha's absolute purity. But he doesn't just say, "Nope, you're good." He offers this beautiful piece of praise, calling the Buddha a guide for the lost and a physician for the ill. He's affirming his perfect role as their teacher. So, following the Buddha's lead, the roles are now reversed. Sariputra offers himself up for confession to the Buddha, and then, one by one, the rest of the 500 monks do the exact same thing. This shows that the practice is reciprocal. It applies to absolutely everyone, from the highest disciple all the way down to the newest monk. After observing everyone, the Buddha gives his assessment. He declares the entire assembly to be completely pure, without a single fault among them. He even notes that the lowest seated monk in the group, the least senior one, had already reached a really high level of spiritual realization called sotapanna, which means they were already on the irreversible path to full enlightenment. So the ceremony is now complete, and the sutra ends by just capturing this profound atmosphere of peace and purity that now fills the air. Another monk, Vangisa, is so moved by what's just happened that he stands up and just spontaneously recites a poem. And his verse celebrates the day, it celebrates the community, and it celebrates the collective freedom that they've all just reaffirmed together. It's just a perfect poetic ending to the whole event. So, let's wrap this up. What are the key takeaways from this incredible ancient story? Well, first, we see that true purification is holistic. It covers what we do, what we say, and what we think. We learn that real leadership can come from radical humility. But maybe most importantly, we see that this whole practice wasn't about punishment. It was about building a foundation of absolute trust through mutual, voluntary confession. And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This ceremony was built on a level of honesty and trust that feels almost unimaginable today. So it makes you wonder, in our own lives, in our teams, our families, or our communities, what could a modern version of receiving the year actually look like?